Oh, hey y'all. This is Jandel Crutchfield, the public education trustee, and you know what time it is. It's time to stand up for Texas public schools. But how do you do that if you don't necessarily know things like how our schools are funded by local property taxes? So today's video sounds like, property taxes, what are you talking about? But here is the question. What do property taxes have to do with how our schools are funded? Property taxes actually play a very significant role in funding public education in Texas. So we have a unique school finance system. We talked about in our last video how the state calculates the basic allotment, but we rely heavily on property taxes to support K through 12 schools. So the Texas school districts primarily have these two types of property taxes. You have the maintenance and operations, or sometimes they're called M&O taxes, and you have the interest and sinking called the I&S taxes. So M&O taxes are those maintenance taxes that fund the day-to-day operations. So those things are what you think of: salaries for our staff, utilities, instructional materials, right? And so that's the biggest part of most districts' budget, is paying those salaries for our teachers and staff. And then you have the I&S taxes, on the other hand, that are used to repay debts. So think about, in Mansfield ISD in particular, our school bonds, right? To construct new buildings, facilities, all of those things. So M&O, maintenance, day-to-day stuff, salaries is the big thing. I&S, repaying debts on school buildings. And so the value of the real property within the school district impacts the potential for funding. Districts with higher property values can generate more revenue from local property taxes. And so those with lower property values may struggle to meet funding needs. So are these significant funding disparities. That's why you can think about public schools and say, okay, why does one district seem like they have greater facilities, more staffing fulfilled, as opposed to those struggling with some staffing or facilities or resources? It's the property tax, right? And so then the legislature also plays a role in shaping the system because of all these formulas. So you would think, okay, property taxes are high, great, we get lots of money. But first, it's sent to the state, all of that revenue, and then sent back to you again based on some of those different formulas. And so some of the advocacy calls are to try to address overall equity in that system. So increasing the state's share of funding. So help us as districts that have differing property tax values, help us to have a higher share of money or a bigger pot to be able to support our schools, and better reflect student needs. Students have different needs in the state. And so that's the basic thing about funding from local resources. It pretty much is a property tax game. And so we'll talk in the next video about how our local then appraisal plans and all of these things impact our ability to have that funding potential. Thanks, y'all.